Dilip, let me actually start with you. You're in the business of advising clients on how to manage narratives, brands, how to project themselves. In terms of headline management, the government has obviously been smart in a Machiavellian way. They started yesterday with Adani Hindenburg. It ended with only the special session in the headlines. Do you think that was the aim, or do you think the aim runs deeper?
I think the aim runs deeper to uh, to ascribe either great fear or great anxiety with the Modi government about about the Adani report is to place a lot of responsibility with people taking this decision, saying that it needs to be ousted. So far, that's not the narrative they've been playing to. So the second thing to keep in mind is that what is closer to this September session, the September session is much, much closer to the state elections. Whatever the complications about one nation, one election, I think that's far too complicated for a 5-day session to deal with unless it's dealt with in some perfunctory manner and bludgeoned through, in which case it can be done even in a 1-day session. So I suspect that there must be more in terms of marketing savvy that goes behind this kind of decision. It cannot just be that we want to advance polls, we want to have it on 1 day, 1 date, or 2 dates, or whatever it is, because I think that that will probably run up against a whole bunch of bigger complications than even a comparatively complex legislation like pushing through the UCC would be.
So what's your best guess before I open this up? I agree with you. I am not convinced, but I've often been wrong, and I will humbly admit I've often been wrong. I am not convinced that a legislation as complex as the one nation, one election bill can go through as easily. Even if we go through Parliament, there's a whole sort of long process to actually make it real. What's your best guess? Some have suggested Uniform Civil Code, another very complex proposal, could also antagonize Hindu voters in sections of the country. Some have said it could be, the G20 meet would have been over. You want Parliament to actually talk about what you've achieved on the global stage. What is your best guess, Dilip? And then I'll open up with the same question for everybody else.
Again, I'm going to answer this one with a question. Normally, I don't. Could it be the women's reservation bill, which would give them an unbeatable advantage as they go into elections?
Yes.
Both these are actually stuck in various House committees. So if you want to actually do a session and cut through all the so-called processes, procedures, and rigors of parliamentary process, only then would any of these things be possible. To do this, just to do rah-rah about either Chandrayaan or G20, I think is not likely. You could do that far better with an address to the nation.
I think the women's reservation bill is a very interesting thought. It's been on low simmer since I became a journalist some 23, 25 years ago. And if the Modi government were to sort of enforce it to the last mile, there would be many hurrahs and it would be like a sort of perfect brand positioning.